businesses that would make me money. Like, how do I make money?
My account yet.
Yeah. It is unfortunate, huh?
Dude, the more I interact with like AI and Claude specifically and actually build shit out and then I interact with human beings, my tolerance for bullshit is just fucking swan dive off the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up and go away. I'm just gonna have AI do this.
Yeah. I read one of the comments on the, Claude video. I have to find it. It was so funny.
Internal or
on the YouTube? Yeah, on the YouTube one.
Dude,
and
that's a cesspool.
it's pretty shocking. No matter what, you can handhold. Okay, excuse me. These people. And I saw this. Let me see. Something akin of this shit is a waste of time. I'm not doing. Yeah, literally with 9 likes, no less. It says, yeah, I'm not doing any of this shit. Waste of time.
Good. Don't.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, poor's being poor. Like, enjoy. Boys, we are here. We're going to get started soon. Just give it a second. I'm actually just loading up all my crazy tabs, as I usually do. And yeah, I'll let this play for like 5-10 minutes and then we're ready to rock. All right. Excuse-moi.
Yeah.
Another comment was like, what did he say? He said something funny. What the fuck did he say? God, I can't find it. Something like, this is the new grift. Learning Claude code is a grift now.
It's not a grift, but I understand where he's coming from. At the same time, there is a lot of grifters in the space. Like, I made my fucking $300,000 fucking app in 20 minutes, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah, that's all bullshit, yeah. No, we just did the basics. Like, hey, code with this and have an idea and build it out. That's grifting. No, we're not selling, like, buy my course so you can learn how to use Claude code. No, bro, the whole video literally shows you, how to do it, literally. Down to, like, such a minute level of, here, just screenshot this. You don't even know how to speak. Just screenshot that, send it over there and say, what do I do? Yeah. Vibe grifting, yeah. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mentality, it's, I was talking to my wife about this earlier. The mentality of people, positive and negative, like what you think you attract, but not on some gay like crystals and, the vibes like women say, but quite literally, I was explaining to her, this is what a lot of people do is they think negative thoughts. For example, I can't do this, or this is a waste of money, or this is a waste of time, or nobody makes money with this shit. And that negative line of thinking affects your behaviors and your choices throughout the day, and it closes off opportunities from you. Like, for example, you could be sitting on a great idea. Maybe you didn't know how to code it up and put it into the real world yet. And because you think vibe coding is a waste of time, or AI is some scam shit and you don't want to use it, or any negative kind of line of thinking. You're not thinking from a state of abundance. Like, let me give this a shot. Let me just try. If I fail, whatever, at least I learned something. You shut yourself off from the opportunity of even trying. And this follows you for the rest of your life, this line of thinking. There's quite literally $1 million ideas, and they don't even have to fucking be $1 million ideas. Let's just say you have an idea that makes you $50,000 a year, for example, something. It gets you financially independent, like a salary would, but you work for yourself. So it doesn't have to be grand. We're not asking you to be Jeff Bezos, but this coding shit could get you financial stability, independence. And the fact that they think so negatively is how people have these outcomes in life of like horrible bodies, because, hey, that guy must be taking steroids. He's eating healthy is too fucking expensive. Everything is an excuse. Everything is negative. Everything is somehow impossible to reach because this negative mentality. So they go their entire lives with zero opportunities in front of them, actually magnetizing horrible outcomes. You think about, for example, why you're going to be poor. You're afraid of being poor. You're afraid of investing your money. And so that person never invested their money, never put it in a, ETF or something, at least, never got some gold, nothing. And so they find themselves actually poor. They've actually, how would you say, manifested, as the women love to say, the exact thoughts in their brains. Their subconscious behavior took over the fear of losing money, never investing it, their subconscious, any other ETF, Vanguard, something like anything. And so because of that internal thinking, you then realized it in the real world. Most men, and it's way over 80%, 90% at least, will never internalize this line of thinking. You will die poor. This is the brutal truth. Most of the men will die poor. You will die destitute. You will be a victim of your circumstances. That's insane. That's an insane thought to have. Look, I have a big heart. I want to save people. I want to show men the way. But you're going to learn very quickly interacting with men is that will not happen. Even holding their hands, even taking them to water. Nah, that water looks a little brown. I don't want to drink that shit. I don't know. It's a little warm. Are you sure that's safe? Every little excuse. Yeah, bro, I just drank it myself. I just showed you I drank it. It's safe. It's good to go. Still won't. Okay, dude. And he dies of dehydration in the desert. And he'll blame everything. It's the sun that killed me. It's the sand. I had to walk these many miles. There's no fucking clean water anywhere. You can't trust that water. Okay. Just do what I did.
Everyone accept themselves for the choices that they make.
Exactly. And it is infectious too, by the way, because we were talking, me and my wife, again, we were talking about being positive and thinking positive. It's infectious to be around negative people. Oftentimes, the worst people to be around is your family, because your family is the one that installed the software in your brain of how you speak to yourself, your voice, how you formulate thoughts. You take up after your mother or your father. And what people don't realize is the negative thinking that was installed is reinforced by being around other negative people. Even when you're trying to download your own software, change the voice in your head, be positive, it only works when you're around other positive people. It's very hard to do this self-work of changing your mental framework until you see it live in other people. If you're the only negative guy in a group of, say, 10 dudes that are all positive, all gung-ho, all about getting their money, they literally infect you with positive thinking. Same, if you're a positive person, you surround yourself with negative Nancys, these fucking crabs in a bucket, they will literally infect you with that same mentality. This is why they say you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. It is extremely important that you discard negative people. I love my family. I will never talk to them about business, money, anything. It's not their wheelhouse. They know nothing about it. The fear and everything else in their lives held them back from ever experiencing any of that stuff. I can't relate, and I would never. All I would do to speak to my family about stuff like this was invite negativity. So I don't. People have different strengths, okay? And you have to realize your family is your blood. They'll always be in your life. It is what it is. But it doesn't mean you have to share everything with them. It doesn't mean that their opinions actually matter, especially when it comes to things like business and making money. Not everybody's family makes money and is business inclined. Mine wasn't. I grew up broke. We grew up poor. My dad did the best he could on one income. It is what it is. I don't go to him to talk about how to scale up a business. He's never done it himself. Why would he know? My mother is a worrywart. She sat at home worrying about money all the time. What am I going to tell that woman about business? And what's her response going to be? Save your money, son. Don't start a business. Times will get hard. She's from a position of lacking because that's just the world they grew up in. I don't fault them for it. It's just their OS. It's their system that saved them from their hard times. But it would be a mistake for me to institute that line of thinking in what I'm trying to do. I need to elevate. I need to go beyond. I need to think like the guy who already made it there thinks. So I need to look up above and see those who arrived, those who are already millionaires, those who already built businesses. What were you thinking? What were you doing? How did you approach this problem? How did you deal with this issue? This is the mentality you have to be around so that it infects you. It's like catching a flu, bro. Rich people think differently. Go hang around them, catch that shit. Catch the rich man's mentality like you would a fucking cold. Catch that shit. It's infectious to be around them, to hear them speaking, to hear how they view things, their mentality on the world. Their minds tick differently. But when you're around rich people, it ticks the same. Everybody's got the same symptoms like a cold, runny nose, itchy, dry mouth, cough, shit like that. You start to notice these patterns in wealthy people. Catch that shit like a flu. So that is why sometimes you need to retract yourself from your old friend group, some of those mopey motherfuckers, those guys that hold you back, you know, shit like that. Your family that just has no idea about this, but they're always giving their 2 cents. You're catching a flu of poverty when you're around these people. That's the flu you keep catching. That's the virus mentally you download. Always around these people. It's a virus. It spreads. That's why I'm very big on my environment. I'm very big on the people I keep around me. I don't like negative Nancy's. That shit's a virus. If we got a guy in the chat here that starts moping about his sorry life, it's his first time. We understand. We help him out. 2 times, 3 times, 4th call, 6th call. He's coming in moping about the same shit. The virus is now infecting me. It's infecting all of us in the room. It quite literally shifts the energy, right? When we're all talking about winning in here and someone sharing how they make $20,000 or they got a business making like 40 grand a fucking month with trucks, or $17,000, $20,000, $40,000 being a trash man. You know, he has a trash business, shit like that, like we have in the community. Or got a doctor coming in here with like multiple businesses and they're all speaking to us. They're all community members. The energy shifts in the room. Holy fuck. Everybody starts listening. Everybody starts to like get ideas in their head. You're starting to see how these people, how their mind works, how they work through problems. And then you have the mopey motherfucker. He'll come in a different day. Oh, I have girl problems. You know, I'm dealing with these issues. Rudimentary shit. Super negative. Caught in the moment. Not thinking deep 5-10 years into the future. And then you start listening more and more and you're like, ugh, dude. And then you start to think about your life in the same low frequency. And I hate to use these words, low vibration, low frequency. It's so fucking gay and new age. But really, it's their mental model downloading into your brain live. As they bitch about the weather, you go out and look, fuck, yeah, the weather's not nice. Ugh, it wasn't actually so good today. Oh, you know, things are really difficult. You know, blah, blah, blah. It infects you live as it's happening. This is what people are. This stuff is extremely important. You're obviously blind to it because you're surrounded by it. This is the first step that you have to realize. Hey, dude, the people I'm around, most of the time we're around bad people for this kind of stuff. Let's be completely honest. Most of the time. My first experience with this stuff is finally when I left the house to California. I was on my own. That is the first time I got exposed to a different world, a different class of people. Completely shifted my mentality. I had to see it in person, live, for myself. My friend group had to radically change. And so that radically changed me because I couldn't infect them with negativity. There's too many of them and only me. So when I'm surrounded by 20 fucking positive people, 20 people with ideas, 20 people making money, ascending in different levels, different verticals of their life, whether it's money or family or religion or, you know, more spiritual, acquiring assets, whatever it is, everybody's just on the up and happy. Dude, you can't even be negative. If you wanted to, it's hard because the hope they give you, the infection they're spreading into you is positive. You know what? Damn, he did that. I want to do this. Whoa, he's doing this. I'd like to try that out too. You know, maybe that is a good idea. I should do that. And it infects you in a good way. Now you do the same shit, but opposite. Go around 20 bums, losers, addicts, excuse makers, negative Nancy's, crabs in a bucket, haters, bro. Surround yourself with those kind of people. They'll turn you into exactly that. You will be the sum of these people. And unfortunately, in the world today, let's be honest. This is part of the crux of this is like communities like this is one of the few ways you can do this today. In the modern world, for men, it's either this or the military, pretty much, or like an MMA gym, right? You really have like 3 routes. Where else are you going to go and meet a group of men? that are kind of on the same track, either at different levels, but still going forward. Military, MMA gyms, last mecca of masculinity, and in the future, communities like this. That's it. Most people are stuck in botland, NPCs. Your high school friends, probably retarded. College friends, probably retarded. Normies, they're not thinking on a deeper level. Everybody's following the script. Work hard, get job, retire. Find a woman, make kids, retire. Blah, blah, blah. Same script. No one's thinking how to break the mold. And if they are, they're distracted too much by life and makes excuses. I'm too busy. Well, I just use Claude to talk a little bit. You know, I have some ideas. How do I make some money? And then they end up stopping there. Yeah, that seems a little complicated. I don't think I have time for this. I have to go clock in tomorrow. Really? And people don't realize that this is happening all around them every single day. I think that's probably one of the most important things that you'll learn is that you have to surround yourself. This is where the value comes in, the community like this. And other communities like the military, for example, that brotherhood that you build. And then in MMA gyms, which is what I always recommend, contact sports, getting physical with other men, you build lifelong bonds. Same shit, danger. You know, hey, finding out who you could kill and who could kill you, how vulnerable you are and how dangerous you could be. Same shit, the military gives you that same shit, dude. You find out how close you are to death with a bunch of men, how dangerous you can be, how much power you have to take someone's life and lose your own. That creates something different in a man. And then the military is highly structured. You're all one unit focusing on one singular objective, working in tandem together. Okay, this provides you the bond and the brotherhood that you need. Nobody gets to bitch and moan for no reason. You all have to go forward. And so that is infectious. You are taught structure, discipline, objectives that need to be at all costs completed. So they almost beat the bitch out of you when you go into the military. I don't want to wake up early. I don't want to run 5 miles. You don't have a choice, bro. You're stripped of your ego and your identity when you join into the military. Why? Because that's how they build you differently. They strip you down and build you back up. They have to take the old programming, destroy it out of you, and then institute a new one to make you into a soldier. It's the same concept at an MMA gym. They break you down as a newbie and build you up with confidence. The more you learn, the more you tap people, the more you get tapped, right? The experience you gain. Same shit in these communities when we're talking about business, when we're talking about whatever topic it is. You're learning from other guys that already walked the path. You're getting mentored. Your mind is shifting by being in here speaking. You're learning new things. Your mentality is starting to evolve and adjust because you're surrounding yourself with a whole different level of men, all chasing objectives and goals, sharing their experiences. It's all the same. Have you noticed that the framework from the military to that to this, all similar frameworks, all happening? One is purely mental, one is purely physical, one is a mix. You know, it's all the same framework nonetheless. This is how men learn. This is why these things are so valuable still. And this is why, ironically, this kind of framework where men thrive under has been essentially removed from modern society. You could say that. So that's why I say it's a shame that some guys join the community and they never partake in the calls. It's a shame that some guys don't even partake and make posts. It's a shame that some guys don't try to do anything whatsoever with themselves. You can make plenty of excuses and say, well, I'm isolated. My friends all moved away for college. My friends all moved away for jobs. You know, they all got jobs. They all got families. And, you know, the boys don't get together anymore. That's great, bro. Communities like this exist. There's other people mentoring other people and things. There's day trading communities if you want to learn how to day trade. There's other communities doing other things, coding. If you want to learn how to code, you can surround yourself with people that are on a same path, on a mission, and get so much gold nuggets of wisdom and information and the mentality. Imagine you go to a Claude coding community, for example, since we've been talking about Claude code. You go to this community and you got 1,000 people in there, and they're all thousands of them trying out ideas, coding, learning new things, sharing tips. And you're going into the thread in the community, and these people are like, dude, I just coded this up. Can someone test it? Hey, this is what idea I had. Here's the product. Let me know what you think. Rate this. Hey, I ran into this issue. What'd you guys do to fix this? Hey, here's the little cheat I found. If you go into the menu settings and you change this, this happens. Imagine surrounding yourself with those kinds of men, all attempting the same kind of shit, and the amount of fucking knowledge you get, the proficiency that you gain is astounding. That shit is worth thousands of dollars, dude. The value of shit like that, men have no idea. They're sitting on it, for example, in this community, just sitting on their ass. It's sad to see. And this applies to the rest of the world also, just in general. So when I ask people here in the calls, for example, hey, dude, share what you guys built, and I'll let it get quiet. Just say, hey, what's some more advanced shit? Not just talking to Claude. Not that you were ideating some bullshit. What's the actual first product you've worked on right now, building out? I'm just going to ask the guys in the call right now. Share. And I'll be quiet. Just to see at what level we're at. And don't say nothing, Philip. I know you're building your shit out. We're going to let the room be quiet for like 30 minutes, dude.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I know I'm doing shit. So you know I'm doing shit too.
Yep. So guys that are in here, please do share what you've been doing with Claude besides just talking to it. What do we got? And how far along are you? Just give us the details. It's crazy, huh? It's awfully quiet.
Fucking crickets.
Right? Should be like immediate. Bro, check this out. Can't wait to share. Yeah, like literally. Hold on. Listen. So, that's a sick idea. And by the way, here's what I was doing with mine. Crickets, bro. Crickets. We'll wait. I think I got a cricket sound. I do have a cricket. So let's say. Still waiting. Damn, that's crazy, guys. We're really about that life, huh? We're making hella money here. We got crazy ideas going on. Who do we have to blame besides ourselves right now? How many calls have you guys in here been in, or videos have you watched of this shit? And how many incredible ideas just stream through your brain, and then the call ends, and then this is your brain. That shit's wild, bro. You see how men do it to themselves?
None of you motherfuckers are going to say anything. It's like one of those things. Like I thought of one of those things, and it's kind of already been done. But unless you know like modeling and 3D design stuff.
What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? Aren't these calls supposed to be private? Kind of, sort of, not really. I mean, you're not getting the full call. You miss hours worth of stuff. I'm only giving you guys, like the top surface level. It gets better, obviously, the call people start sharing what they're doing. And guys have a bunch of cool ideas in the community, but yeah. All right. We'll get through some supers. Appreciate you guys for being here on a good old Sunday. Either morning, evening, or afternoon for you, depending on what it is. So, let's begin.
At Real Baba Fad 8,216 donated $9.99. Even lifting will change your life. I used to be weak and 120 pounds and now I'm 145 pounds, squatting 420 and benching 275. I've gotten all my friends to start lifting and start care of ourselves.
You're a strong fucker, dude, for 145 pounds. It's not a joke. Good job, bro.
At Death Isn't Enough donated $2. I'm 23 PLS. Tell me about what old America was like.
I'm only barely older than you. I just know what America was like pre-internet being saturated in every single household. So I hear it was good times. I see the videos. What's up, Ascendant? Yes, we are definitely live. So that didn't go through either, huh? Gifted one. Or did it? Sorry. Let me see. Yeah, that didn't go through. Okay. Thought we fixed that the other day. But we'll fix that later. Anyways, appreciate it, Rush. You gave one because we're live now? Yeah. So today we're going to cover the Iran war updates. We've had quite a few updates. It's been, I think, almost 10 days or so. I don't even know how long it's been, honestly. I have to check. I can't remember. But a lot of stuff has happened. Essentially, a lot of the stuff we talked about, the economy, oil prices, everything is converging. All the stories that have been coming out recently, confirming some of the things we were talking about earlier as well. So, yeah, it's gonna be actually a very nice update. Let's see here. All right, let's do this. You're in your last car payment.
At Maryland Guy Ether donated $4.99. I just paid $70 to fill my vehicle up, and this is a car, not a truck. Wait until the food shortages hit. They are talking about civil unrest.
Wow. So I was reading in the comment section too, by the way, of the video from earlier today. The amount of bots, guys, in the comment section is actually insane. There is a comment that's got a bunch of likes, and it was I'm an American in Thailand, and there is a huge amount of fuel shortages and things like that happening right now. And the economy's got maybe like a month or so, less than that, before everything's getting shut down. There's massive shortages, massive fuel problems, and all the downstream effects of the war happening. And then there's like a comment when you fresh through the newest, and it's like some idiot saying, I'm in Thailand right now. Gas only changed by 37 cents. What are you even talking about? Nothing's different. And it's like, who are these fucking people that are gaslighting? These bot accounts. These same bot accounts, by the way, when I'm going on some of the comments of the more political stuff, they're instantly, dude, trust the plan. What do you know? We have insider information that you don't. Where are you guys? This shit's crazy. It can't be real people. It can't be. And of course, when you click on their accounts, you see that it's basically a bot account. They have bottish pictures or no pictures at all. They have their comments are super bot-like. And their name is usually like you see here. I was making fun of that, saying Tyler Wiggins, 1948, something like that. You know, just these weird names. But in the video I was doing, the walk and talks, the same shit. I told you guys that they were going to start ramping up all of this disinformation, this, what could you say? This engineered consent. They're manufacturing it for the war. CNN of all places that used to hate on Trump, all of a sudden, now that the war aligns with the people who own CNN, They were saying that MAGA has 98% support for the Iran war. 98%. CNN reported that weeks after Fox News reported that. There is not 98. This is some of the lowest support ever. This is probably the lowest support for a war that we've ever had. And they're manufacturing the consent. They're trying to socially engineer support for the war right now. So when you go and turn on, mostly boomers, but even on the media as they clip these, when you turn it on, you go, wow, most people support this. Wow, most people support this? I kind of don't support this, but I guess. But that's really, you're not the target as a man for that kind of information, really. It's women. Because when women see most people support, most women just go with the herd. Most weak feminine men, these male feminists, these are the people that will start supporting this kind of shit. These are who they're after. They're just engineering support for the war. Because if they let you know just what the real losses are, which we'll get into right now, the real losses, all our gas prices going up. I'll talk to you guys about, the Japanese yen carry trade, interest rates. We're staring down over $4 average nationwide for gas, 7% interest rates on housing. It's not looking good. Quite a lot's changed, to be honest. And, like I said, I haven't done an update in about, 10 days? And honestly, I don't even know where to start. Everything we've been warning about. Let me turn the music off. In the last few updates, the interceptor crisis, the Gulf states getting dragged into it, the Houthis, the ground war, all of that stuff, it just happened. Seriously, within the last couple of days, most like. So the Houthis are now in officially. They fired a ballistic missile in southern Israel from Yemen. And that was the card that Iran was holding this entire time in reserve because the Hormuz has been closed for almost a month now. And I'll get to the supers, guys, in a second. I have them queued up. Don't worry. And for the past month, and there was still, you could say, one route, essentially, for oil to go through, which is why oil prices didn't jump as dramatically as we were expecting. There's some other things going on in the background, but obviously the Red Sea is the option, and now the Houthis are the ones that can shut that down too. And if both of these choke points close at the same time, then you're almost looking at something like 30% of the world's seaborne oil just offline simultaneously, which literally never happened before. This would be actually first time that's ever happened. And these guys shut down the Red Sea shipping lanes already for 2 straight years during the Gaza war. So it's not a bluff. They've done it. They know how to do it. And now they also have the better weapons. So much better technically than they had before with all this drone advancement that's happened in the past couple of years. And the reason that this matters beyond oil is that essentially Israel is now has incoming missiles from 3 different directions. They have it from Iran, right, from the east, Hezbollah from the north, and now Yemen from the south. And every new direction will force them to spread all these interceptors that they have thinner across a wider area. And they're already running out before these 2 new fronts, you could say, opened up. And running out isn't even an exaggeration because the IDF's chief of staff said as much. He publicly admitted that they could, at least their military could collapse from manpower shortages. This is Israel saying that. They stated that conserving their best interceptors and that they were using these cheaper ones that were designed for, I don't know, the low level firing the dumb rockets across the border. And so as a direct result of having to ration your good interceptors, the direct result essentially was that their nuclear facility at Domino got hit. It took a really good hit. So, and another site in the south took a hit because the wrong interceptor type was guarding the wrong target. Or maybe they were forced to not use it and select for certain missiles that may do more damage. And so some of the other missiles that are low yield may not be worth intercepting. You don't even have to say worth intercepting, but you're forced to make a decision of how much damage you're going to take. You're going to take damage regardless. So you have hundreds of these ballistic missiles from Iran. since this started. Most of them got intercepted, but enough are getting through that some of the population areas, the more populated ones, are taking direct hits with warheads that are carrying hundreds of kilos of explosives. And the sirens, they're going off nonstop. You could see them in some of these videos online across the country for like the past month or so. And on the other side, Iran is claiming they have 1 million fighters mobilized and that they've lowered the age of support roles to 12 years old, which should tell you something about how long they're planning for this to go and just how determined they are. You now have 12-year-olds in support roles, potentially. So let me catch up on what happened while I was away, because obviously some of this stuff completely changed the picture. I mean, we were kind of expecting it to happen, but it's starting to unravel dramatically, despite what the United States is saying. So the U.S. and Israel, you've heard of this one already because it's been the talk of the town, you could say. The U.S. and Israel bombed Israel's largest gas field, South Pars. And the thing about South Pars is it shares the same underground reservoir with Qatar's North Field, which is where Qatar gets all its oil from. And Trump personally approved the strike and then reversed himself within 48 hours, saying that no more energy targets because, Iran got the message now. And this is now the third time that this same exact pattern has emerged and played out, where Israel pushes for a strike, Trump goes along with it, the consequences blow up in everybody's face, and then Trump tries to walk it back, and the damage is already done. So he already did it with the oil tanks. He did it with South Pars. And then this. He did it again this week, because Iran's response to South Pars was to hit Qatar's biggest LNG plant, which is the largest liquefied natural gas facility on Earth. And they destroyed about 17% of Qatar's export capacity. And the CEO of Qatar Energy said it set the region back 10 to 20 years. And Qatar basically declared their contracts null and void for the time being, with 4 of the 5 countries expelled, or not, I should say not 4 of the 5 countries expelled, but 4 of the 5 diplomats from Iran expelled from the country immediately, which for Qatar represents one of the largest diplomatic breaks that they've ever made. And they've been going back and forth weirdly. Along with Saudi Arabia supporting the war now, Qatar did support the war. And then here's essentially what happened. Iran then showed that they had far more missile capabilities than the United States was promising Qatar. And then Qatar ended up getting hit even more. And then Qatar was like, wait a second, I thought this was over. And then now they're walking back and saying, look, Iran has been here for millennia and it will continue to be here. And we're going to have a diplomatic solution, right? So this is their version of trying to make amends for what happened. So yeah, after their gas field got hit, they freaked out. They had that hard diplomatic break, largest in decades for the region. Obviously, they were all trying to get along. They've all been at war with one another for the longest time. There's always been issues going on. For example, Saudi Arabia and Yemen. So anyways, besides the point, what makes that, so significant is that Qatar was still the last Gulf state, still talking to Iran, still maintaining the back channels, trying to hedge between both sides on the war. And Iran blew that up because from Iran's perspective, if you're going to blow up their gas fields, then your gas plant is also fair game. And now nobody's talking to anybody. So the escalation ladder will continue. And then this week, Trump extends his pause on these energy strikes until April 6th. That's the magic date everybody's talking about, because the talks are going very well, according to Trump, which Iranians have denied. So the irony of all this is that within 24 hours, not like a week later, not a few days, literally just within 24 hours, the next day, Israel hit 2 of Iran's biggest steel plants, which produce about 70% of their steel output. And that's their second biggest export after oil. And I briefly mentioned that on yesterday's stream. So it's about $6.5 billion. And they hit a power plant as well. And then for the first time in this war, they struck nuclear sites. It's a heavy water complex and a yellow cake production facility. So Iran's foreign minister then goes on X, basically said that it was done in coordination with the U.S. and it contradicts the president's own deadline, and there will be a heavy price to pay. And hours later, of course, ballistic missiles were hitting Tel Aviv and strikes were landing in the Gulf. And overnight, they also bombed a major university in Tehran, and almost 2,000 Iranian civilians are dead, and hundreds of schools and hospitals damaged. And we're the ones actually bombing the universities. And there are videos that have come out, and it's showing very gruesome shit. Don't recommend looking at them if you're faint of heart. It shows, feet, hands covered in dust, under rubble, buried, obviously dead people. So we're targeting civilian infrastructure now, which tells you something about us. Well, Israel is, but via proxy with us. We're confirming, at least with them, all these strikes. So the New York Times itself confirmed what we've been talking about since the early updates. Most of those 13 U.S. bases in the Middle East are basically destroyed. That's confirmed. They're uninhabitable. That's the word that they were using in the report. And the ones in Kuwait got hit the worst. And that one had the operation centers and the fuel facility, and all the comms gear, all that stuff got wrecked, and thousands of American troops had to be relocated to hotels and office buildings, and they're essentially conducting a war remotely from a Holiday Inn, if you could fucking believe this. This is the strongest empire in the world, and we can't protect our own bases. And the strikes keep getting more and more precise and going after higher value targets, because yesterday Iran hit the 82nd Airborne troops on the island in Kuwait, and the hospitals went into the emergency mode, right? And then today, or I should say probably yesterday, they hit the Prince Sultan Air Base inside Saudi Arabia, which is one of the most defended U.S. installations in the entire region. And they managed to damage an E-3 Sentry AWAC, which is like $270, $500 million. Imagine that. A $270 million flying radar that coordinates the entire war in the air. And there's only 31 of them that exist on Earth. And they can't be replaced, at least on that old airframe. And we have newer ones, but still we lack the materials to build them now because China shut us out of rare earths and some of the other stuff we would need to actually produce these in time to be useful for the war. They also hit those KC-135, those strato tankers, the refueling tankers we were talking about, the planes that keep the fighters operational in the Gulf. And without those, the air war starts to fall apart. So 12 more Americans were wounded in that strike alone, and 2 of them serious. So that's 84 or so waves now since February 28th, and over 300 wounded, 13 killed. Only what CENTCOM is reporting, of course. And if you look at the pattern, you can see what Iran is doing. So first, they hit the Gulf states and the bases in the states there, in the Gulf states, to test the range of their missiles. Then they, what could you say? They hit the troops in Kuwait to test the willingness. And now they're hitting the irreplaceable, irreplaceable aircraft deep in Saudi Arabia that's targeting the capabilities of potentially our Karg Island invasion, if that's what we're going to invade, or some island in the Strait. Remains to be seen, but their targeting data is getting more and more accurate. Through the grapevine, we already knew Russia was one of the early supporters of that, but we're ending up finding out now that China is also providing, which we mentioned, high-resolution satellite photos. This is how we're finding out that these bases and these radar domes and installations are being hit. China's literally live capturing photographs showing the damage, posting it live. Well, I wouldn't say posting it live. It gets leaked to social media for obvious reasons, to control narratives, but it's the only way we Americans are getting the truth about the damage that is being sustained in some of these things. So Iran isn't trying to win a single battle in this sense. That's not, and you can't even win against America like that. They're just trying to make the air war unsustainable, and the math is starting to work out for them. We don't produce cheap units of anything. We produce highly advanced, extremely expensive weaponry that nobody else in the world has. These are not replaceable at the drop of a hat, at a whim. The logistics chain is long. The build out time, some of this stuff is 5, 6, 7, 8 years. That's too late for this kind of war. Could we build it faster? Maybe, if we mobilize the war economy. But obviously, we're not in a war, right? We're in a special operation, according to Trump. So this is complicating our ability to do war because we're just not in this 100%. This is not total war. So if you guys remember way back a week or so ago, same shit. I told you guys the F-35 story got confirmed while I was away. ABC confirmed it. An F-35 got hit by the Iranian air defenses using that same infrared system that picks up the engine heat, the IRST. And the pilot took shrapnel and the plane is out of service. But there's this flight tracking data that showed there was a search and rescue helicopter circling over Saudi Arabia for hours, which didn't match CENTCOM's story that the jet landed, quote, safely. And there's reports that a second one was hit over southern Iran. The 400 billion stealth program, guys, that shit was built on an idea that nobody can see the jet, and a heat sensor that's been around for decades found it because the engine runs so fucking hot. And the whole targeting system that made the shot possible is Chinese. The radar, the satellites, the navigation, the electronic warfare systems, all of it is Chinese. And now Beijing has live combat data on whether their tech can detect and engage America's best aircraft. And they got it for free without a single Chinese soldier anywhere near the fight. That's crazy. This is the same system that downed the Stratotanker, the F-15 and the FA-18s, I believe. It is the P-358 missile. And it just is designed not for a direct hit. It's an optical proximity missile. So what it does is it gets close to the target and explodes the shrapnel, which CENTCOM reported. That's the shrapnel that hit the plane and downed it. The Russians and the Chinese are learning live our weapons capabilities, our logistics capabilities, and our warfighting ability. This is catastrophic, to say the least. And there's people that talk online, well, we have 300 of these airplanes. We have hundreds of this, hundreds of that. That's not the point. Those assets must stay in other bases around the world as a deterrent to other countries like China. If we lower our stocks too much, the calculation for China taking Taiwan and becoming more bold increases dramatically. We're not supposed to be losing these planes in this fashion, in this kind of operation. We should have something akin to air supremacy, and we don't. So the fact that we even lost 2 F-35s, 2 Stratotankers, our radar domes, all our interceptors, our THAAD systems, like 4 of 7 globally destroyed, is not a good sign. Okay? Can you imagine what the losses would be should we go into this full bore, 20,000 troops getting prepared to land somewhere? What island? Who knows exactly what they have planned? Special forces soldiers, I see, are being prepped to potentially insert in nuclear plants to secure nuclear material. How are we going to do this inside a country so massive? Iran is huge. Iran is like 4 of the largest European states combined. It's like France, Germany, the UK, and something else combined. You could pick like Spain. Combined in size. It is a massive place. And you're going to put everybody within firing range when we don't have full control of the land, the air, or the sea. How this will work, I have no idea. Trust the plan, though. This is what we're told to. We're told to trust the plan, guys. They know what they're doing. Don't worry. And just sit back, relax. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Remember that. Just repeat that in your head when you're pumping your gas. And grocery prices keep getting expensive, and interest rates on every loan goes up, and mortgages are now 7%, and you can't afford anything. Don't worry about it. Just relax. So anyways, but the things that might matter more than any of the strikes or the missiles that hit the F-35, and, you know, I would say the escalation ladder skipped a few steps. This is what Iran did with Hormuz while everybody was watching the explosions. So they set up a checkpoint at a place called Larak Island. Ships get funneled there through Iranian-controlled waters for inspections before they can pass. And if you're a non-enemy vessel, you go through with coordination. And if you're an enemy vessel, you don't. And Iran's foreign minister told the UN directly that this is their legal right as a coastal state, not a threat, just the legal claim. And the fees at this checkpoint are collected in yuan, of course, not the dollar. So processed through the Chinese payment system that bypassed SWIFT completely, which we touched on the last video too. And Iran is already getting 80% of its oil revenue in yuan, and they're pushing legislation through parliament to make that toll system permanent law. So Iran went from threatening to close the Strait to running it like a customs office, and you can't essentially bomb a legal claim and a fee schedule, and the bill is actually moving through parliament. So that's a completely different kind of weapon than a missile can actually take out. So regime change failed. The capitation strike failed. Their parliament is functional and passing legislation for a toll. So, and then it's also escalated. Today, I read that 2 Chinese container ships tried to cross through Hormuz and got turned essentially back, which means that even China is now getting caught in this shit. So that's 8 million barrels a day offline. This escalation is probably them making it a little bit more painful for China because of the imminent threat of invasion, right? So they're kind of forcing China to back channel with the United States. Maybe offer the United States something in return, not to invade, something of that nature. Everybody is playing against everybody in order to avoid boots on the ground, which seem to be more and more real, and the probability ever so growing every single day. So Brent was over at 111 when I looked. West Texas Intermediate is at like 103 in the market closing. So this month is looking like it's on track for the largest monthly oil price gain ever recorded. And 40% of Russia, this is what's insane, 40% of their oil export capacity is about to go down because the Ukrainian drones are hitting their Baltic port terminals. So you've got Hormuz, you got the Red Sea, and you have the Russian Baltic ports all compromised at the same time. And there just isn't enough oil somewhere else on Earth to fill that gap. So the paper price of oil, when you look at your little trading view application, still doesn't reflect what's actually happening, because Brent and WTI, they're measuring American and European supply conditions, not the Middle East crisis. So physical crude in the region is trading way higher. Oman was around 154. Dubai was over 130. Refined products, or they were like, what, 200? And the gap between what you see on TV and what's actually trading in the real world, it just keeps getting wider and wider. And I want to slow down here because I want to help you guys with this financial side of where this starts affecting everybody watching this. And most coverage just throws numbers at you without explaining exactly what they mean for your life. So for example, the bond market is cracking right now. Yields are at the highest of the war right now, despite what Trump is trying to do and placate to the market and maybe say, well, the war is going to be over. We've won. Game over. We've completely decapitated them. They have no navy. They have no army. Doesn't matter. The bond market's not listening. Again, I want you to hear me. The yields are at the highest hit point in the war, and the mortgage rates are at 7-month highs. And in under a month, the conversation went from the Fed cutting rates to the Fed potentially hiking rates, because you can't cut rates into an energy shock, even if the economy is weak. And what that means in real terms is that if you were waiting to buy a house or to refinance, you're now looking at rates pushing towards 8% and climbing. And if you already have an adjustable rate mortgage, your payment is going up. And if you're a business borrowing money to operate out of capital that you just got, is now significantly more expensive, literally like overnight. And none of that has anything to do with your business or your income. It's just because of the war on the other side of the planet that closed the Strait and spiked oil. And now the entire financial market has to reprice around that reality. And it gets worse because there's a guy, his name is like Ed Dodd, something like that. He's a former BlackRock fund manager. This dude's in the know-how. Okay, they're in there. They're deep in. He's got all the knowledge. One of their better investment guys. And he laid out this like macro picture. I was watching the video of him talking. And this is something nobody in the mainstream will touch ever. He said the credit creation system needs constant growth and bigger injections to stay alive. And, you know, coming into this war, the private credit market was already having serious troubles. And then, boom, we're in a war that requires $200 billion in emergency spending. And it extends into a larger conflict. The debt required goes into the trillions. And Dodd's point was that this war provides cover for a financial system that was already wobbling. The same way COVID spending floated the credit system for a few years after 2019, when the plumbing was already breaking, follow the money. That's what he was saying. Follow the money. The $200 billion the Pentagon requested isn't a war budget. It's a massive credit injection to a system that was already running out of excuses to print. The war gives cover for spending that would have been politically impossible without it. It's a monetary reset. And then you couple this with Japan. So you've got Japan now in their situation, which almost nobody is talking about. And it might be the single biggest financial risk for us here in all of this. If you're not aware, Japan is the largest foreign holder of U.S. Treasury bonds. They have over a $1.2 trillion worth. And the oil price spike from this war is absolutely destroying their whole economy, essentially, because they import almost all their energy. And the yen is already under pressure. And the government is already under a lot of debt. So massive that they may be forced to start selling our U.S. treasuries to fund their own obligations and then defend their currency. If Japan starts to liquidate even 10 to 15% of their holdings, that's 100 to 180 billion in selling pressure hitting the U.S. bond market, the exact moment that the Fed can't cut rates. And the U.S. is requesting $200 billion for a war. That's the Japanese yen carry trade unwinding before our very eyes. For years, Japan borrowed at near zero interest rates and parked the money in U.S. bonds for the yield spread that they were getting. And now the entire logic of that trade is reversing because the yen is weakening and Japan rates are rising and the oil shock is accelerating all of this. And when carry trades unwind, they don't unwind slowly, you guys. It's all at once because everyone heads for the exit at the same time. And the last time something like this happened, it crashed the global market in a matter of days. So then you stack this on top of UBS freezing withdrawals from $500 million real estate fund for up to 3 years and joining BlackRock and Apollo and Blackstone in locking investors out. And if you remember in 2008, this is exactly the sequence. Funds freezing redemptions is the canary because it means the underlying assets can't be sold at prices that cover what investors are owed. So they lock the doors and hope it stabilizes. And it usually doesn't. So the S&P closed its worst week of the war, 5th consecutive losing week, down almost 9% from January. From the highs in January, and gold is crashing too, sort of rebounded, which makes zero sense during the biggest geopolitical crisis in decades, unless the derivative markets are being actively managed across multiple asset classes, not just oil. You see the scam, the charade? It's all collusion. It's always been about the money. It's always been about this infinite debt. This debt-based economy is collapsing on itself. And the irony in all of this is that our so-called enemy that we've been fighting via proxy, Ukraine, well, Russia doubled its oil revenue to $24 billion this month. Doubled it. And Lavrov said that Iran didn't violate any of its international obligations, which, you know, Russia is officially taking Iran's side on the legality question for the UN. Every dollar oil goes up above 90, funds Russia's war in Ukraine with money that sanctions were specifically designed to prevent. And the war that was supposed to isolate Iran is bankrolling the country now. We're already trying to contain all of this. And then Rubio connected both wars in one sentence, and he told Europeans who called this not Europe's war, that Ukraine isn't America's war either. And we've contributed more than anyone else, which explicitly turns Hormuz into leverage for Ukraine's support. And that's the Secretary of State saying the quiet part out loud. So the Israeli military officials also, because it just keeps going, reportedly told their own government that Iran's capabilities cannot be eliminated in the current operation. 9,000 targets were hit. $200 billion is what they spent. The supreme leader is dead. The Navy commander, they killed him too. And the Strait is still closed. And the checkpoint is still operating. And the regime is now stronger than it's ever been and more radical than when we started, because the intelligence assessment was covered in the last update for us. And that's what landed when we were talking about on Trump's desk. This is what all his generals and his intelligence staff, the entire American intelligence apparatus, this is what they said exactly would happen. And he was warned before he gave the order to go ahead. So, oh, you see, that one worked for YouTube. Cool. Okay. Remind me after this. So, New York Times essentially confirmed that the whole basis for the war, and this is going to piss people off, was built on deception. Mossad played a role in the January riots that killed around 3,000 people and were sold in the West to us as like pro-democracy protests. Well, Israeli intel used that unrest to convince Trump that if you hit Iran hard enough, the people would rise up and topple the regime. So the Western media inflated the death tolls and covered up that many of the deaths were killed by the rioters themselves. Listen to that. The January riots were the sales pitch for the war, and every assumption behind that pitch turned out to be wrong because the Iranians aren't rising up. They're rallying around their government, and the moderates who wanted to negotiate have been discredited, and the hardliners are now running the government. And Israel tricked our president through his ego, whatever you want to call it, that they would make statues of him or something in Iran if he ended up instituting regime change. Our ally, who keeps escalating the war when we tell them to stop. Our ally, who used the media, who used Jewish owners of media to propagate a message to Americans that there were tens of thousands of protesters killed, that they would welcome us with open arms once we killed the Ayatollah. So that's not what happened at all. And that wasn't even the outcome. So Trump then tells us 4 to 6 more weeks of this crap, right? His mission is kinetic. We're just blowing stuff up. And Iran's mission is just legal and fiscal. You run a toll booth and you collect in yuan and you pass laws. Well, these two missions don't intersect at any point. Iran rejected the U.S. peace plan, and their counterproposal demands permanent sovereignty over Hormuz, which would make the yuan checkpoint a feature of any ceasefire, not a bargaining trip. So that's permanent. So they're getting stronger. They're making more money. Something like 800 billion to a trillion potentially in tolls added to their economy. And the IRGC is threatening to cut the undersea internet cables that carry 95% of global data traffic. And they haven't done it yet, but again, escalation ladder. The threat alone is enough to make, say, Google and Meta start rerouting shit. And all these big tech companies, their data centers in the Middle East were getting targeted. Amazon's cloud service, stuff like that. So this is quite a tactical approach that they have, because you're not beating America conventionally. But what do is you go after America's business elite, the corporations. So what happens when the corporation's bottom line starts getting hurt? Well, who do you think's on the call with Trump immediately? The donors, the donor class. Isn't it funny how that works? You beat America by destroying its corporations. You don't beat America by destroying its military. How weird is that? You pressure America to stop a war by crushing the profitability of its corporations. Weird. We're a giant corporation. We're not a country. This is what it seems like. So anyways, April 6th is this deadline that was passed, or at least said by the United States. Nuclear sites are already burning. The Strait is yuan dominated. It's a customs checkpoint now. We failed completely. The Houthis opened up a third front, escalating everywhere. Israelis' defenses are past the breaking point. The U.S. bases are fucking hotels. Irreplaceable aircraft are getting destroyed on the ground. Russia's doubling revenue. Japan might be forced to dump U.S. treasuries. The bond market is cracking. Fund redemptions are freezing. You can't even get your money out of some of these funds. And Iran isn't even fighting a war anymore. They're just building a new system at Hormuz that collects in Chinese yuan. and runs on legislation. It doesn't care whether a single missile ever fires again because the checkpoint operates whether we keep bombing them or not. And it only takes one drone, one missile, one loitering munition to just strike one cruise ship, one transport tanker, oil tanker, whatever it is, just one time. It just has to hit once. And then the insurance companies refuse to insure the loads, the tankers themselves, and though the companies will not want to transport anything. Now imagine this going on 2 straits for multiple years. Hell, just a few months of oil disruption translates into years of disruptions in the supply lines. We may be approaching insane numbers on oil should this continue. Or Iran successfully forces the administration to back down via capital destruction. These are the 2 scenarios that we're looking at. The war will continue on because we're not toppling the government with 20,000 troops. I don't care what that number is. If they really do have 1 million active and ready to fight, it takes the invaders a 3-to-1 ratio. So that means, at the very least, should these numbers be real, it would take at least 3 million U.S. soldiers, boots on the ground, in order to capture, maintain, and institute a peaceful transfer of power. You cannot hold a country without boots on the ground. Bombs do nothing. You're just pissing them off. It's like throwing rocks at a hornet's nest. Small rocks. And then the hornets all come out angry. That's what's happening right now. They're all out and they're angry. We would have to mobilize for total war. So again, go back to what I said earlier. It's all about the money. Our global financial system is collapsing. Debt is increasing. You can't take your money out of funds. The dollar is worth less than it's ever been. We are paying trillions in interest rate. The budgets are never being cut, so we need to reset. And how do you reset? The same way we've always reset. War. And so what are we doing? It seems like we are slow walking into a massive escalation of a forever war that will reset the global financial system because, let's just say, it's purely speculation here. We don't know. This is purely speculation. Wouldn't it be so easy to send 20,000 troops? They may get slaughtered. The numbers might be so bad. The videos that come out would be so horrible that then the population back home, although they're not even supporting the war, hate to see Americans dying. And maybe something via a similar pathway like 9/11 was. You get the sympathy that would then give you the backing to go to full-blown war and start to draft. We lowered the age for volunteers to 42. Or sorry, increase the age. So now you could be 42 years old and go into the military. Why do we need to increase the age to 42 if we have absolutely no plans for a wider war? Do you understand? And then a message was sent to the Marines, reservists, to be prepared, combat ready. Why would we do that? Unless we are trying to expand or planning to expand. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Wait and see. I guess that's what you could do. Let's get through some of the super chats. Anyways, that's our update on Iran and some of the things going on. We could talk some more if you guys want in terms of what to expect going forward. Like the toll booth becoming permanent and what that does for everybody. The dual choke point scenario that's going on right now with the Red Sea. And what could happen after April 7th? It just depends. Someone says Shapiro should be drafted now. He's definitely, he's 42 years old. Irony is ready.
At Death Isn't Enough donated $2. Do you predict Jimmy Carter gas lines no gas 4 miles?
I think prices will be too high. I don't know. It depends how long the war goes. But we produce domestically what we need. The prices, though, I don't know if Americans will put up with that kind of stuff, to be completely honest.
At AZSU2VC donated $10. The Trump-Israel war will likely be the single most destructive policy decision since the Civil War.
It's looking like it. The longer it lasts, the more we're getting bit in the ass. This is blowback. Unforced error is the perfect way to describe what this is. And it's because it's not meant to benefit us. It's meant to benefit Israel.
At Filthy Angry Irish Peasant donated $5. Bought a 2-year-old grass-fed cow from a farmer. Have a 12-foot freezer full of uber lean ground meat. Have a freeze dryer. Don't forget ammo. Generator NXT.
Good shit, brother. He's preparing. Hey, they laugh, but if this closure lasts much longer, we're going to have issues with farming as well, production. Planting season is right now. We don't have fertilizer. So these downstream effects is far more than just energy. It actually deals with far more.
Humans 3,269 donated $10. I used to fly on AWACS and flew on the one that was destroyed. Tail number 5. A good plane, but they are old. It's going to be harder to coordinate air operations without it. Iran isn't playing here.
Wow. That's cool information, brother. Thank you for sharing. Huh. Yeah, I hear we have new airframes, updated AWACS, but yeah, cost of production and the production timeline is too long for the war. So losing them actually does hurt.
A damp 911 donated $5. Trump said really bad things about the leader of Saudi Arabia, and now Saudi Arabia pretty much told the US to go screw and is going to help Iran.
I didn't see that latest update about helping Iran now. He did say, MBS, that he's got to kiss his ass. That's the stupidest thing you could say in a war with the country that just decided to take your side, is telling their leader he kisses your ass now. He didn't think he'd be kissing my ass, but he is. What an idiot, dude. Unforced error after unforced
Lager
error.
King donated $2. Trump went full retard.
Yeah, pretty much. That describes what happened. Yeah, pretty much you went full retard. That describes exactly what's happening right here. Trump is the best globalist ever. Yeah, seems like it. Okay. Well, hey, it's interesting. I'm looking at the markets, right? And I want to see when the US and EU reserves start depleting and Brent and West Texas intermediary starts to reprice violently to match Oman and whatever those prices are. I mean, I'll put those up on the screen. Let's check, because I'm actually curious. I know I saw Middle East oil was down just a bit from previous highs, but that was before the Houthi news and the Red Sea shipping lanes getting shut down. So, or
at Brian Oberlander 1,837 donated $5. What about our refineries magically catching fire since the start of the war?
That's another thing. Infrastructure sabotage is real. Look, a couple of drones wired with explosives flying into our infrastructure that is not hardened in any way is extremely vulnerable to attacks, is actually the correct way to attack the United States if you're Iran. You do not use any of those so-called Iranian sleeper cells in the United States to commit terror attacks that they were trying to scare Americans with. You use them to go after our infrastructure. Guys, a simple drone or two on our electrical grid, it'd be very easy to knock out power everywhere where they want to operate. I would be shocked if this wasn't already a plan of the IRGC and in China, other enemies of the United States. I would be shocked if they don't have contingencies to go after critical infrastructure that's not hardened for war or whatever. It's just literally out in the open and there's a little shitty fence around it. That's it, with a sign that says do not enter. But a drone with explosives could crash straight into any of those and cause critical damage. So it says we need to harden it. We don't have the money to harden it. That's the problem. It's like you have to build that stuff, what, underground? It's too expensive. So there's a delay on prices right now currently. So you could see this might say 99, but that's not true. It's actually at 102, 101 here. So oil has gone up, as you can see, West Texas specifically. And what you have to see about the OPEC basket, they dropped a bunch. They were at damn near 150. But this is a 3-day delay. This is before all of this news that we're covering, especially everything that's gone on over the weekend. So there's still a lot of things happening where once these update, we're probably in trouble. So we'll see. Saudi Arabia has one oil pipeline that goes east to west. That's supposed to be a plan B, rerouting from the Hormuz in case anything like that were to happen. I don't remember if Iran already targeted that or not, but should that pipeline go offline and get targeted, plan B is dead. Plan C is dead. The Red Sea lanes are about to get closed. So I imagine the bond market is already kind of in tune now with the flippy floppy nature of Trump. And interest prices are going to keep creeping up.
Donated $5. Got any practical advice? Day to day, I mean. I was looking in the private community for ideas, but we could get drafted.
Oh, day-to-day advice? Look, if you have money, obviously invest in defense stocks, commodities, industrial metals, things that are obvious, that do well in times like this for obvious reasons. Apart from when hard times come, you got to save as much money as you can. Look, the biggest thing that you could do practically is cut excess spending out of your life. If you don't need it, don't buy it. That's literally the advice everybody can get right now. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Cut your expenses and spending and only keep what you need. Assume this will go much longer than they tell us, just to err on the side of caution and be safe for yourself financially. If money starts to get tight, if the economy starts to crack more, maybe the business you're working for loses clients, maybe you might get let go or your hours reduced, something of that nature. Prepare for a potential cut in earnings, and that's just in earnings. I'm not even talking spending power. Obviously, it's far more expensive. Oil will get more expensive. Groceries are going to get more expensive. So the little you do make will also buy you less. So God forbid you lose your job, but have contingencies for a potential like that, a stagflation style economy. There are very little jobs. Wages will not go up. They're practically flat. And the economy is not producing either. So we're between a rock and a hard place, honestly.
At Tommy RSCA donated €2. My God, I hate this timeline.
Yeah, a lot of people do. We could have been living the Jetsons. We could have been in miniaturized nuclear reactors powering everything. Humanoid robots. We decided to become liberal democracies and pretend everyone's the same.
At Kojik 635 donated $4.99. Shouldn't the U.S. convert all of its refineries to handle light sweet domestic oil instead of being dependent on other countries for heavy crude?
Okay, here's what you don't understand about that. It seems like the logical thing. We're not really dependent on other countries. Oh, well, for heavy crude, okay. It doesn't make sense to get all your light sweet and turn it into whatever you would need heavy crude to be. Like, okay, depending on the sulfur content in oil, of course, it produces different products. So heavy crude will produce different, plastics and shit like that. And then that light and sweet stuff is what goes into like jet fuel and gas and shit like that. So you have to understand this, regardless of what kind of weight, molecular weight or the sulfur content, it doesn't matter. When oil companies in the United States are looking at what the global markets are charging, that's money on the table that they're leaving out if they were to only focus on domestic production. Essentially, when you hear things like, we don't depend, the president says this, we don't depend on the Hormuz Strait at all for our oil, we're self-sufficient, all that stuff. And then an American looks at that and says, okay, but why are our prices rising then? Why are we paying more if we're not affected by that? Because no oil company operates out of the goodness of their own heart. They're not going to say, well, the international market is charging $150 per barrel, let's say, and we're only pricing at 100 barrel domestically. We could be making a ton more money. We're leaving $50 per barrel. Do you know how much that increases their operating revenues? They're going to be filthy rich. The profit incentive is there. So then they will increase the barrel pricing and you pay more at the pump to get their money's worth. This is it, dude. This is it. You're asking corporations to not take profit advantages so that they can save you money as an American. Because, hey, times are tough. And I know our economy isn't good. And we, the oil producers, are going to make sure every American gets their cheap gas. Why? Why would they do that? Think about it. This is capitalism. This is the system you're fighting for. This is what everyone pushes here. Capitalism is great, isn't it? It's just not great when you're on the receiving end of capitalism. That's the problem.
At Maryland Guy Ether donated $4.99. There's a bunch of old rich men sitting around talking about how much money they're making from this war with that rich people's laugh. Ha ha ha.
Uh-huh. That's exactly what's happening. Funny enough. It seems cartoonish, but that's actually what it's like. We are pests to them at best.
At Brackafaded donated $4.99. Could the risk of the dollar crashing create a rally around the flag vibe for Americans and give them a persona reason to get involved in the war?
No. I think Americans are too caught up in other shit. They don't even know anything about the Iran war, the Ayatollah, any of this. I think the average normie just sees things getting more expensive. They look for somebody to blame. It won't be the Middle East because half of Democrats, or I should say half of the voter base just hates Trump. And they think he's a Nazi and they think he's a white supremacist, misogynist, all this stuff. They're fully brainwashed into their ideologies. So they'll just blame Republicans. Like it's actually a beautiful game for rich people. When things go wrong and the economy suffers and you're the first one in line to get fucked, the first thing you do is you blame a Democrat or a Republican. The voters, right? The voters are fighting against themselves now, but then just the actual parties. So then the solution in the eyes of Democrats are, well, when we get in power, things will get fixed. But the same people that put Republicans in power are the same people that fund the Democrats. So this whole Democratic charade that we're all playing, this WWE shit, it's like fake wrestling. You're picking it's the uniparty. But an American normie thinks it's one side. It's not Iran and all these other people. It's the Republicans that did this to us. And then the Republican voter base will do the same shit and go, it's the Democrats that did this to us. No, it's the rich elite. They're all the same. You're just picking from a rigged game. You lose. Your vote doesn't matter. They haven't realized this yet. Which is why nobody's going to rally around anything. All they're going to do is blame. And who are they going to blame? Republicans. But they won't show you that CNN is now supporting Trump's war for obvious reasons. Who owns CNN? Who owns the media? Who benefits from Israel becoming more powerful? Right? That's the game, folks. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Cooking donated $2. What is the likelihood that America would start mining coal again due to this war?
Maybe if it gets very dire. I mean, we would need to do that. I don't know. Yeah. I guess, again, what is the profitability of mining coal again? Right? It depends. Everything is money, guys. Follow the money. It's a profit calculation we're making with the war. We don't give a fuck. We were sold the Iranian protesters, not the Iranian protesters. We obviously know that Mossad fabricated the protest. They had agent provocateurs in there. Most of the protesters that died were just getting killed by people on the streets for protesting. They support their government. Clearly, the decapitation strike failed horrendously. Hardliners are in power now. Literally, the media spin was the complete opposite of what was happening on the ground. How much money are our elite going to make from this war? That's the question. Once that gets answered, they have it already. These are very smart people that have shit calculated already. The longer the war goes on, the more profit is created, the more money is made, the more you can reset the system that's already crumbling. Because it doesn't make sense when you're talking about it like this. Trump wanted to institute a new head for the central bank that was friendly to lowering interest rates because we needed to refinance a huge chunk of that potential $1 trillion in interest that we were going to pay on our debt. Well, if that was such a huge concern, why go into this war knowing that it will be impossible to cut rates and we would have to actually increase rates, which means our debt becomes far more expensive to service? Do you see? There's no congruency in the administration. So Powell, with his fucking money printer just printing and shit, quantitative easing, all out the door now, is gone. He was trying to keep the economy together by holding interest rates pretty consistent. If anything, there were expected one rate cut in the market, and in the span of 20 days, the market is now expecting rate increase. So, boy, I work for a company that sometimes makes military tent feet. There have been no large orders yet, so no plans for boots on the ground invasion. Well, that's an interesting insight, man. I hope you're correct, guys. Listen, I hope there are no boots on the ground. I hope this shit ends in the next couple of weeks by the deadline. I hope, seriously, that, I don't know, Trump is given some form of out and he walks away and we return back to the status quo as quick as possible and fix all the fucking damage. And I just don't have any trust in the government to even think of the people that way. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to be right. I really don't. I would like this shit to end. Hey, shake hands, call it a day. We fucked up. Status quo in the Middle East has to change now because we didn't win. A blunder. Unforced error. It is what it is. But we have egos at play here. We have people far beyond our pay scales that are playing games multiple fucking levels above us. So, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways. I think the most imminent threat right now is seeing what happens with Japan. If I'm being completely honest, the Japanese yen carry trade is where our stock market goes down like 10% in a day. Like the circuit breakers will trip with Japan. If the Bank of Japan announces that they're raising interest rates and they're going to start selling off our treasuries and the carry yen trade disappears, we're fucked. I don't think Americans know just how tied to the Japanese economy we actually are. It already happened, I think. Was it last year, guys? The Bank of Japan signaled it was going to raise interest rates on, I believe it was like a Monday or a Tuesday or something. I can't remember. And the market took a fucking shit, an absolute shit. And then the United States, some delegation met with Japan and forced them to keep rates essentially at zero. Yeah, last year's when that happened. Yep. Now imagine if Japan can't keep rates low anymore and the carry trade unwinds. We're done. You're going to have interest rates like 10%. Forget 5%. Forget 6, 7%. No. We're going to get 10 to 15% interest rates. A market's going to be absolutely fucking cooked, dude. Then it's the domino effect of that happening is the scariest of all of this. Did our administration think of this? Of course not. That's second, third, fourth order effects of the Iran war. So, yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps it's going to become a reality. Okay. Let's get into some reactions, dude. Let's chill out. Or should we see? Now let's continue. Hold on. Let's see what Fox News, what boomer slop they're pushing. What is the latest updates? Wow, new report reveals Pentagon preparing for weeks of ground operations in Iran. Trust the plan, guys. Hey, this will be over soon. I want my fucking awards. Where are they? The boomer slop. Here we go. Just listen to this shit.
Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. Welcome to the program. Two great guests. We have Stephen Miller and Mark Thiessen. But before we get to them, I've been thinking about the war with Iran. I like to call it a military operation. I actually like to call it a peace mission, because that's what it is. And how incredible it is. And the magnitude of this victory. It's not a final victory. But this victory up to this point is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And keep something in mind. Before these military steps were taken, and before Donald Trump was president, we were trying to bail out Iran. We were trying to beg them to come to the table. We lift sanctions so they got hundreds of billions of dollars. Obama entered into an agreement that would ensure they get a nuclear weapon. Back in 2015, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, did something extraordinary. He came to the United States, came to Washington, gave a speech to both the House and the Senate, a joint session, in his opposition to this Obama deal. And I want to set that stage. I want to read a little bit from his speech to Congress and the entire United States. Every several years or so, you're called upon to make a momentous decision where the stakes are high and both sides of the issue are vociferous in their views. Now, I'm not going to read it all. I'm bouncing around. I've spent the last 3 weeks really analyzing what's going on, carefully studying the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, reading and rereading the agreement and its annexes, questioning dozens of proponents and opponents, and seeking answers to questions that go beyond the text of the agreement, but will have real consequences that must be considered. He goes on later. He says, in the first...
I can't even listen to him. It's such fucking horseshit. God damn.
3,500 sailors and Marines aboard the USS Tripoli arrived at the U.S. Central Command area in the Middle East region over the weekend. U.S. forces are reporting major progress against Iranian naval vessels. Lucas Tomlinson's live at the White House with more on all that. Hi, Lucas.
Good afternoon, Mike. From the beginning, the White House said this war will last 4 to 6 weeks. It's now past the 1-month mark. And Senator Tom Cotton says these strikes will continue until the regime is completely destroyed.
The end game has been clear from the very beginning. This revolutionary regime is going to be defanged and neutered. It will no.
Oh yeah, it's defanged. It's so defanged and neutered that they're still striking bases and our troops and our planes and our allies in the region. Fucking morons.
At BGBG617 donated $10. Trump went full tar. Iran decided to play with the tar. Did never play with the tar.
Thanks, bro.
No longer be able to hold the civilized world at risk. It will no longer be able to threaten American troops and our friends in Israel and the Arab nations in the region.
Now, with one aircraft carrier now out of the fight with Ford in Croatia and likely heading home, flight operations continue aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. Here's a Super Hornet from VFA 41. The Black Ace is preparing to launch. Call sign dealer. There have been some skepticism from lawmakers on Capitol Hill about the war, some asking why Iran is still able to be launching dozens of drones and ballistic missiles each day 1 month into this war, weeks after the Pentagon claimed 90% have been destroyed. Here's Adam Smith on Fox News Sunday.
The biggest part of the problem is the military campaign isn't working either. Iran doesn't have any less nuclear material now than they did when this started. They still have ballistic missiles. They still have drone capability. They now have shut down the Strait of Hormuz.
Should President Trump need a ground force option in addition to the immediate response force launched from Fort Bragg aboard the 82nd Airborne Division, Marines aboard the USS Tripoli have now arrived in the Arabian Sea with dozens of Super Stallions and Ospreys aboard. Some of those 2,000 Marines could spin up and launch an operation, perhaps take one of Iran's islands in the Persian Gulf to use as leverage to get the Strait of Hormuz opened. Some Republicans sound wary about sending in the Marines.
Of course they do. Boys, we're moving over to Kick. Let me send this up to you guys on YouTube. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, but we're going on Kick exclusive. Same if you're watching on Rumble. I don't know how many of you there are, but let me post the links for you guys. It's also pinned in the live stream chat, but it's ad-free, runs well enough, free to sign up. We're almost at 1,000 followers, subscribers, so sign up if you haven't. There it is. Thank you so much. If you don't join us on there, well, I hope you have a good weekend, good rest of your Sunday. And if you are meeting us over on Kick, glad to have you. And we will continue. Got a bunch more stuff to cover. Take care, everybody.